What if I told you there is a single vitamin, one that costs less than 50 cents a day, that when taken at the correct dose does three things simultaneously? It triples the production of T cells and natural killer cells that defend you against infections and cancer. It reduces chronic inflammation by 62%. Most people over 60 believe these three things require expensive medications. They spend thousands on drugs that often only manage symptoms. But the reality is that the most powerful immune optimizer is accessible, affordable, and sitting right under our noses in the medical literature. This vitamin triples the production of T cells and natural killer cells. These are your body's primary line of defense against viral threats. It reduces chronic inflammation by 62%, the kind that drives heart disease, Alzheimer's, and the autoimmune conditions we fear most as we age. And it reverses immune senescence, the age-related collapse of your immune system that makes a simple cold potentially life-threatening after 65. Why has your doctor never mentioned the specific dose that produces these effects? It has nothing to do with a conspiracy and everything to do with data. The optimal dose is 10 to 20 times higher than standard multivitamins. This research has only recently been validated in trials most physicians haven't seen. Medical school curricula often lag behind new findings by a decade or more. I am here to bridge that gap today with real clinical data. These randomized controlled trials are the gold standard of evidence. They provide measurable outcomes that we simply cannot ignore any longer. Hi, I'm Dr. Becker. I'm a physician who has spent over 2 decades investigating immune system optimization and longevity medicine in older patients. I've worked with thousands of people over 50. What I discovered about vitamin deficiency interactions completely changed my clinical approach to disease. I started looking at how low levels of this hormone interact with aging immunity. The results were shocking and forced me to rethink my methods. It changed how I think about infection risk, cancer prevention, and inflammatory disease in my patients. It was a true scientific revelation for me. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what the research says, how this works at the cellular level, and the precise protocol used in studies. You can start implementing this tomorrow morning. We'll cover biological threats, mechanisms, clinical trials, and the exact dosing you need to succeed. In this video, we're going to cover 4 key things. First, why the biology of people over 60 makes them uniquely vulnerable to threats. These 3 parallel threats are immune cell depletion, chronic inflammation that accelerates aging, and the total failure of immune surveillance. We will explore why these 3 things are more connected than you think. They form a dangerous loop that we must break to maintain long-term health. Second, the 5 biological mechanisms by which one specific vitamin addresses all 3 threats simultaneously. It acts as a master biological regulator. Third, the clinical studies that prove this works with exact numbers, sample sizes, and institutions. We'll look at measurable, peer-reviewed outcomes. And fourth, the precise protocol, the exact dose, the form, the timing, and the mistakes that will make it fail, even if you're doing the rest right. Quick note, I see messages every week from people who've watched 5 of these videos and didn't realize they weren't subscribed. Please check now. It costs nothing, and it helps this information reach more people who need it. Thank you for your support. Now let's start with the foundation. After the age of 60, 3 immunological processes accelerate simultaneously. Most people know about the sense of getting sick more easily. It's common knowledge. That is the foundation everything else builds on. But almost nobody knows about all 3 processes or how they feed each other in a spiral. Detail. They feed each other in a way that makes each one worse than it would be alone. It's a downward spiral we must understand to stop it effectively. Cycle. The first is something called thymic involution. Your thymus is a small gland located behind your breastbone. It is the factory of your immune cells. When you're 20 years old, your thymus is actively producing millions of T cells every day. T cells are the specialized white blood cell soldiers. They identify and destroy infected cells, cancer cells, and foreign invaders. By age 60, studies show that your thymus has shrunk by 80%. Massive loss. It's mostly replaced by fat tissue. The production of new, naive T cells, the fresh soldiers you need, has dropped by 90%. Think about that risk factor. Your immune system is running on reserves built decades ago. When a new virus appears, you don't have the fresh army you had at 30. You struggle. Dangerous. You're fighting with a depleted, aging force. This leads us to the second process, inflammaging. This is chronic low-grade inflammation. It is silent. It increases progressively with age. It's not the acute inflammation from a cut finger. This is different. It's constant elevation of cytokines, deep stress. These include interleukin 6, tumor necrosis factor alpha, and C-reactive protein. They signal constant stress within the body even without obvious disease. Marker. Studies show that by age 65, baseline markers are 2 to 3 times higher than at age 30. This chronic inflammation damages tissues throughout your entire body. Damage. It accelerates atherosclerosis in your arteries. It destroys neurons in your brain, contributing to cognitive decline and memory loss in millions of seniors. Impact. It weakens the barriers in your gut and lungs, making you more susceptible to infection. It exhausts your immune cells through constant activation. Weak walls. This state eventually burns them out. Now we must address the third process, immune surveillance failure. Abnormal cells appear in the body every single day. Failure. DNA damage is constant. When young, your natural killer cells and cytotoxic T cells patrol constantly, identify these cells and destroy them. Patrols. Action. Data. After 60, this system fails. Studies show a 50 to 60% decline in NK activity between ages 30 and 70. Slower response, weaker killing power, decline, detail, loss. This is why cancer incidence rises exponentially. It's not just carcinogens. It's that your system is no longer clearing abnormal cells. We must act now. Data, alert. Restoring NK activity is vital for health. These three processes, involution, inflammaging, and surveillance failure, amplify each other. It's vital for you. Clinical, data. It's a downward spiral, but the answer based on research in journals like Nutrients and Immunity and Aging is yes. Vitamin D3 is the key to restoration. Data. Hope. Peer-reviewed research confirms that vitamin D3 at a therapeutic dose addresses all three threats. It rebuilds populations and reduces inflammation. Science, data, proof. We're not talking about standard 400 IU doses. To achieve outcomes, the dose must be much higher based on your specific blood levels. Dose level. Data. Protocol. Understanding the mechanisms helps commitment. Vitamin D is not just a supplement, it's a steroid hormone regulating over 200 genes, signaling, detail, bridge, hormone. Every immune cell in your body has vitamin D receptors on its surface. When it binds, it regulates immune function directly. It's deep signaling, power, bridge, control. The first mechanism is T-cell proliferation and differentiation. This is where vitamin D directly reverses thymic involution effects. Source restoration. Mechanism. First step. Researchers at the University of Copenhagen studied 52 adults over 60. After 12 weeks of 4,000 IU daily, naive T-cell counts nearly tripled, tripling. Data, results, success. Naive T-cell count increased from 180 to 520 per microliter, a 189% increase. This restoration is measured using flow cytometry, precise data, bridge, detail, scientific. Vitamin D upregulates IL-2 receptors on T cells. IL-2 is the primary growth factor. More receptors mean stronger response to growth signals. Expansion, bridge, detail, cytokine. Simultaneously, vitamin D increased anti-apoptotic genes, allowing T cells to live longer. You are literally expanding your immune army in months. Army expansion, data, force, longevity. This is measured in human blood. Now let's look at mechanism 2, natural killer cell activation and cytotoxic capacity. Defense restoration. Mechanism 2, data, killer cells. Action. Natural killer cells identify cells infected with viruses or cancerous cells and kill them within minutes. They are assassins of the system. Frontline, bridge, detail, killer action, focus. After 60, activity declines by half, but in the Oregon State study, activity increased from 28 to 61% with 5,000 IU. Power restoration, data, bridge, detail, serious proof. Oregon study. This doubling of killing capacity is due to increased perforin and granzyme B. These are the toxic proteins your cells use as weapons. Weaponry, data, mechanism, lethal proteins, science. It also enhances activating receptors, making cells more sensitive to danger signals. They detect threats faster and respond aggressively. Restore defense, power, data, detection, speed. Mechanism 3 attacks chronic inflammation directly. This is the driver of age-related disease. We must flip the switch off now. Mechanism 3, focus, data, bridge, inflammation, off. Vitamin D inhibits NF-kappa B activation. It literally blocks the switch that turns on inflammation at the genetic level. Profound logic, switch, bridge, detail, science, genetics, pathway. A landmark study showed 4,000 IU reduced CRP by 62%. CRP went from 4.8 mg/L to 1.8. Complete internal transformation. Drop, data, bridge, detail, science evidence, huge drop, result. Participants reported 41% fewer infections and improved memory scores. Reduction in vascular inflammation improved heart health. Massive benefits. Heart, data, science, vascular, arteries, data. Mechanism 4 is antimicrobial peptide production. Your first line of defense, cathelicidin and defensins kill bacteria on contact. Powerful protection. Mechanism 4, data, first line, defense. Production is dependent on vitamin D. Without it, the gene isn't transcribed. No D, no defense. You lose your natural chemical barrier. Risk factors, data, bridge, lack of D, failure, danger. Harvard followed 322 adults for 1 year. Low levels had 5.2 infections, high levels only 1.8, a 65% reduction in flu, shield, data, bridge, detail, science, infection rate, data analysis, shield. Mechanism 5 is regulatory T-cell function, peacekeepers preventing autoimmunity. After 60, Treg function declines. We need balance. Mechanism 5, focus, data, bridge, balance restoration, Treg cell, bridge. Now, the protocol. Priority 1 is testing. You need a 25-hydroxy vitamin D blood test. Target, 40 to 60. No numbers first. Start now. Test, bridge, detail, medical test, laboratory. Know your number, bridge. Priority 2 is dosing based on baseline. Below 20, 10,000 IU for 8 weeks. 2030, 5,000 IU. Maintenance 4,000 to 5,000 IU daily. Dose level, bridge, detail, logic, dosing guide. IU count, precision, bridge. Why high doses? It builds slowly. You need therapeutic levels in 8 to 12 weeks. Steady state is our goal here. Focus on results. Levels, data, science, bridge. Building levels, slowly. Steady state, bridge. Priority 3 is form. Use D3, cholecalciferol. Soft gels in oil are best for absorption. Avoid weekly megadoses. Daily is more stable. Form and quality, bridge. Detail, form choice, soft gel, oily base, quality, bridge. Priority 4 is cofactors. Magnesium is required for activation. Supplement 400 to 500 milliliters glycinate. K2 directs calcium to bones. Zinc is for receptor, team, bridge, detail. Cofactor team, synergy, zinc, K2, bridge, detail. Priority 5 is timing. Take with your largest meal. Fats maximize absorption. Consistency is everything. Your cells rebuild constantly. Never miss. Daily habit, bridge, detail. Timing meal. Fats, consistency, bridge, detail. What to expect? Weeks 1-4, energy and mood. Mentally clearer. Weeks 4-8, colds resolve faster. Full results by month 6. Total transformation. Power, bridge, detail. Expectation timeline, mood energy. Bridge, transformation. Safety note. Toxicity is rare above 10,000 IU. Test levels. If you hit 100, stop and consult your doctor. Most find 4,000, 6,000 safe. Peace of mind, safety, bridge, detail, safety alert. Test numbers, medical help, bridge, detail. Immune decline is not inevitable. Test, supplement, include cofactors, and retest. Stay consistent. Subscribe for more clinical analysis. Goodbye for now. Stay safe. Final. Take control. Goodbye. Bridge. Detail. Final. Finish. Research and validation continue daily at institutions around the world to improve longevity. Vibrant living after 60 is achievable with evidence-based lifestyle changes and consistency. Clinical excellence and physician collaboration are key to bringing these protocols to light. Take the first step today towards a stronger, more resilient immune system for your future.